All right. We are going to be going over probably the biggest chapter in the textbook and one of the toughest part of the CCJ or any law enforcement hiring process, and that's the written test. And the reason it is I've had a lot when I was a cop and in recruitment and also a professor, a lot of students that have bachelor's degrees and even graduate degrees that couldn't pass the written test. And they're like, I should be able to. And I agree. The problem is these written tests are written by companies that expect certain things that they're looking for, and therefore you have to study for them. So I tell students, number one, you have to know yourself as a test taker. Remember back to when you took the SAT or the ACT. How did you do? Did you study? Did you not study? Did you have to take a preparation class? You know yourself well enough. Not every person is going to be the same with this written test, so you really have to know yourself. So this chapter, if you've never taken a written test, is going to let you know, on top of knowing yourself already, how hard you are going to have to prepare and how much time you're going to have to spend. I tell students if they've never taken it, the best case scenario is to give yourself a year. That way you are not cramming, you're not stressed, you can get a really good schedule as to when you're going to study and how to do that. It can be done in 6 months, it can even be done in 12 weeks. But obviously, the longer you have to prepare, the longer you have to soak in all that information. All right, so let's get started. This video is probably going to go into 2 or 3 different videos depending on how long it takes. Like I said, it is the longest chapter. All right, so what is the written exam? Number one, it's the most failed portion of the law enforcement hiring process because candidates do not know that they have to prepare. They'll think I have to test. They'll be waiting for that testing date, and they'll think it's more like filling out an application. They're not familiar with the exam. All of a sudden, they get a date, and they have days or weeks to prepare, and it's sometimes not enough depending on the student. The written exam has really been significantly modified in the last decade because they used to ask um, applicants questions that you kind of had to be a cop to answer. So there's still some questions that see how you think and judgment and reason, but they can't ask you to be a cop when you haven't trained how to be a cop. So it has changed the types of questions that are asked over the last decade. Okay, why is there a written exam? Why do you even have to take it? Well, we need to make sure because the jobs, it's so unique in CCJ law enforcement field, we need to make sure that the candidate can read, understand, make sound decisions, can make it through a police academy, field training, probation. There's a lot of stuff, and the written exam really doesn't tell everything, obviously, but gives a good window into that. All right, so do you need to study? Yes, most candidates need to study. Now, ever so often, you'll have a candidate that's just a really good test taker, and they do a lot of reading, and they watch a lot of the History Channel, and, they're just one of those people. But most of us, me included, have to study. So, like I said, you can cram for it, can be done. So don't go, oh no, I've only got a week to study, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not saying you can't, but the human brain takes in data and recalls it at a higher rate when it's added when we study at a consistent time, at a consistent rate over a long period of time. All right, are there different written exams? Yes. So every law enforcement agency, CCJ, public or private company, have different companies develop written exams and different things they like about them. And even some agencies develop their own exams. So you really need to be informed with the agency you're testing for and the type of exam, because you're just going to do better. It's not that you can't just study overall, but if you know the type of exam that the agency is utilizing, the company they're utilizing, you can more streamline how you study and do better. All right, here are some examples. The textbook, I really go into each one, but here are just some examples of companies that write. And these are more of the popular, biggest companies. All right, so for example, in California, these are all companies. CPS, HR, Delpo, Frontline, LAPD develops their own LAPD test, LASD, obviously, NPSB, all these ones. Florida, CJBAT, FBAT, Idaho, Frontline, IPMH, all these acronyms, right? And it really does depend. If you're on the East Coast, there's certain ways the exams are done. And then on the West Coast, we have a certain way too. So it's just kind of different. So anyway, you can pause here and go through them, but every state is kind of different. And then we can further go into every agency to find out how they conduct their written test. Obviously, if you go to Oregon, the most common is Frontline, LESI, and the CPS-HR. All right. So, where is the written exam administered? Well, historically, it used to be offered at the hiring agency. So, we used to do it, for example, we would rent out a whole entire location because we would have thousands and thousands of applicants show up, and we'd have human resources there and lots of cops there on overtime working, and it took a lot to pull off a written test, and then you had to Scantron it, and you had to record the results. Now, due to new technology, many departments have decided to go to online testing. So, which is really cool, not only for the candidate, because it gives you some flexibility. You don't have to fly if you're testing out of state or you're hours from the city. You don't have to take time and money to go to that place to take it. You can do it through the online company. So it's actually pretty cool. Okay, coming back here really fast. Even though you take it online, a lot of the online companies do require you to be proctored, which means you have to go to a location like a library or another public location where they have proctors that can watch you. All right, so what I have kind of streamlined the written test into what I call 7 categories. There could be 20 categories, 30 categories, depending how you look at it. But I kind of looked at all the written exams and put together 7 main categories of questions that you're going to see. One is judgment and reasoning, both deductive and inductive reasoning, memorization and observation, such as looking at a wanted poster and memorizing what you see, mathematics. You know, I used to say this too. Why do I need math? I want to be a cop. I don't need math because I wasn't very good at it. I got to tell you, in life in general, you got to learn the basics of math. And believe me, I used it in my job as a cop. So please try to learn as much as you can. Even if you're not great at it, you're only going to get better the more you do. And it is on the written exam. All right. The 4th category is police forms, policies, procedures, and legal definitions. Then we have police report writing, which deals with grammar, punctuation, sentence structure, spelling, vocabulary, reading comprehension. How well do you read something and interpret the data that you read? And then finally, traffic maps or directional orientation. All right, so we are going to go through those 7 categories right now and kind of talk to them. And I've kind of given you some more acronyms. I know we have so many acronyms out there right now, but some more acronyms to help you out. All right, I'm going to go on for about another couple minutes and then we'll stop and then I'll go on to another video. All right, judgment and reasoning. Important to remember the acronym POLIS, okay? Professionalism, officer, law, integrity, and service. Okay, and your textbook goes into these more about how you always need to think about these 5 things whenever you are answering a question on judgment and reasoning in a written exam. Always look at the logical answer. Always try to role play the best course of action when you're reading something and trying to come up with the best answer, and use sound judgment. Okay, mathematics. It's important to remember the 4 math rules, and we have some shortcuts as well. So the 4 math rules are Rule 1, analyze the information. Rule 2, identify the information. Rule 3, solve it strategically. And Rule 4, double check your answer. All right, there are some shortcuts, and I go over this in the textbook even more. But number 1, there's back solving. So if you have a math question and it asks for a single variable or multiple choice answers, you can back solve to try it out. So you plug in the answer into the math question until the correct answer is found. So that is one way to do it. All right, we're going to finish up with shortcuts and then I'll end this portion of the video. Strategic guessing. Yes, you can utilize strategic guessing. Yes, I did say that. It's where you are guessing and checking and working backwards, kind of like back solving, to solve the question. You start by reading the question, you guess a solution, you plug it in and see if it fits. And then estimation. So math problems are tough, and sometimes there's no time, because I got to tell you, one of the biggest things with the written tests that most people struggle with is it's timed. So whenever you practice, you should always time yourself so you get used to being under that timer. Okay? So you're always going to run into a question where you don't know the formula, you don't remember it, whatever. And so estimation is going to come in handy for those types of questions. All right, we're going to stop here with memorization and the 5 memorization rules, and I'll see you for the next video.